With my distinct pleasure, the gentleman behind me is the County Executive of Westchester County, Rob Astorino, and he's here to welcome you and lead us in the pledge. Rob, it's all yours.
With half a croissant in his mouth. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. God bless the vets, correct. Thank you, Jonathan and Larry, for inviting me back this year. I appreciate it. Look forward to moving along a discussion about the progress we're making here in Westchester and our surrounding counties here in the Hudson Valley. We all want progress. We all want to move forward. We all want to make things better and to do things smarter. But progress is not easy. It's a struggle. It means making tough decisions and sticking to them. Decisions that not everybody is going to like. Believe me, I know that. But we are making progress here in Westchester. We've made progress in protecting taxpayers, and to see this progress, we look at our tax levy. In 5 years prior to us taking office, the county property tax levy had increased by 17%. And since coming into office, the property tax levy has decreased by 2%. So that's progress. We've made progress in preserving essential services. We've invested more than $350 million in job-creating infrastructure projects. We've spent more than $500 million in social safety net programs that help protect the neediest, especially during the economic downturn. And we've done this by finding more affordable ways and more sustainable ways to deliver service. That's progress. We've also made progress in promoting economic development. And I've said this a zillion times, I will say it another zillion times, that government does not create jobs. But we can, we should, and we will create the fiscal and regulatory climate that encourages businesses to flourish and to create those good jobs that our community wants and needs. We've reached out to big businesses, small businesses, as well as nonprofits to see what we can do to make Westchester a more attractive place to do business. And it's been working. Since 2010, we've attracted nearly $500 million in new capital investment. And yes, that does mean jobs. Over 4,800 jobs have been retained as a result of this investment. You've heard about some of them, like PepsiCo and Atlas Air. And over 4,600 new permanent jobs, construction jobs as well, have been created. That's progress. But this kind of progress could not be possible without a team of talented and very hardworking people. I'd like to introduce 2.5 members of my economic development team. The half is no longer with us, and that's Larry Gottlieb, who is here today. There's Larry. Larry was our previous economic development director, did a wonderful job, and has since taken a job as the CEO of the Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation, where he'll work with multiple counties. So Larry, thank you for all that you have done and all that you will do. Since 2011, Eileen Mildenberger has served as the executive director of the county's IDA. She worked very closely with Larry, and I couldn't think of a better person to replace Larry than Eileen. Eileen is here. Eileen, if you just stand up so everyone can see where you are. And I couldn't think of a better person to replace Eileen as executive director of the IDA than Jim Coleman. Jim, if you'd stand up for a second. Jim brings a successful 25-year career in business working for many different corporations, including PepsiCo, Altria, and American Express, serving in roles that are responsible for business development, sales, consulting, and marketing. So as executive director of the IDA, Jim will be helping lead a powerful economic tool for the county. He'll also lead the Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise, which is an agency within the county executive's office that promotes quality and eliminates barriers to participation in state contracts by minority-owned and women-owned businesses. So I'm looking forward to the next hour or so as we all gather up here on the chairs. I thank you for having me, and I've enjoyed the opportunity to introduce some of my team, past and present, and look forward to the next hour. So thanks for having us here.
Thank you very much, County Executive. Thank you all for coming this morning. I'm Robin with Pattern for Progress, and it's a pleasure to see so many familiar and new faces to us here in Westchester. I'd like to thank a very special group of people who make today's event and other events that Pattern holds possible. Those are our sponsors for today. I'd like to thank AKRF, CT Mail Associates, Chase, First Niagara, Marshall and Sterling, Construction Industry Council of Westchester and Hudson Valley, Tectonic, VHB, the Chazen Companies, Keenan Bean, Westage Companies, Westchester Medical Center, and also for the support of Central Hudson, one of our founding members. Thank you very much.
And that was the voice that many of you know. That's Robin, and nothing happens at Pattern without Robin. And so if I could ask you one more time for a round of applause. And let me mention the rest of the Pattern staff is Joe Chaika and Barbara Greff, and it really is a wonderful staff. I also wish to thank our former board chair, John Rath, the vice president at TD Bank. John, we will miss your leadership, and we have enjoyed it for the past 2 years. And please welcome for his second formal event the managing partner of the law firm of Jacobowitz and Gubitz and Pattern's new chair, Larry Walensky. Larry, you want to come up?
Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day down here in Westchester, and hopefully it's a sign that the seasons have finally changed and we're over the winter hump. We're certainly delighted to welcome our county leaders from Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam County, and all of you to our second annual regional leadership conversation. I also want to welcome our esteemed moderator, the county executive from Ulster County, the county where I reside, a great leader and someone, if I could figure out how to vote twice, I would vote twice for. We have been doing these programs now for some years in the upper reaches of the valley. Great success, always a sellout. It's a sellout here today as well. This is our second year doing this, and we're proud to be able to do it, and again, welcome you all. At this point in time, I would like to ask our board of directors who are present here today to stand and be recognized. This is a great board and representative of a wide area of the valley. So my board of directors, could you please stand and rise and be recognized. Thank you. Just a little bit about Pattern. For those of you who are new to Pattern, we are the Hudson Valley's premier organization for regional thinking and regional solutions. We have been at it a very long time, since 1965. Our mission is simple and direct. We promote regional, balanced, and sustainable solutions that enhance the growth of the valley. We are honest and objective brokers. We deal with a variety of issues. We take on many issues that others are maybe reluctant to take on. We also, as a mainstay of our mission, do a lot of research and generate information that helps others make informed decisions, be they policymakers, business entities, or not-for-profits. Our board of directors extends over the entire valley. There's a strong direction from this board to make sure our regional work encompasses the entire Hudson Valley region. Toward that end, I want to make an unabashed pitch to everyone here today who may not be members of our organization to please consider joining us and become active in our regional efforts. please feel free to contact myself or Jonathan at any time to discuss membership or see how we might otherwise help you in any way we can. So with that being said, I'd like to turn this now over back to Jonathan, who I'm sure wants to have a few other words about Pattern and maybe a few of the things that we are doing specifically at the moment, many of which are listed in your programs. And then we'll get right into what promises to be a great dialogue with these great county leaders. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Larry. Good morning, and thanks for joining us for our second annual regional conversation. Every year we've made modifications to the format. So today you will see that the three southern counties of the Hudson Valley region are represented as we divided the region in half. We recognize that while we stand for regionalism, some of the issues do differ in the level of emphasis. So when last month the county leaders of Dutchess and Ulster and Orange and Sullivan gathered, an issue like the development of the Stewart Regional Airport in Orange County is the most important infrastructure issue. Here, clearly, it is the Tappan Zee Bridge, and we will discuss that this morning. And in your programs is a short pullout of some of this year's priorities for Pattern. I will not take your time now, but please do take a minute to look at the one page inside of the program. One thing I do want to call your attention to is that Pattern, always looking for ways to increase the regional perspective, is pleased to announce that on April 29th at Marist College, which has graciously offered to host a dialogue with Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney and Congressman Chris Gibson. After redistricting caused the Mid-Hudson to lose another congressional seat, that part of the valley was left with just 2 congressional representatives. Mr. Maloney's district runs from Westchester through Orange, through Putnam, and part of Dutchess. Mr. Gibson's district then picks up in Dutchess and includes Sullivan and Ulster, Greene and Columbia, and further parts north. We reached out to both congressmen, and they said they would be willing to appear together and discuss how to help the valley. This is not a debate. I assured them that, and I assure you that this is not a debate. In fact, the event is entitled Across the Aisle and seeks to find what we are all looking for, how to move beyond partisanship for the sake of the nation and, in fact, for the sake of the valley. Without hesitation, they both said yes. So please email Robin DeGroat at Pattern if you wish to attend. And attendance will be limited at this event. I also want to mention that Pattern, for the second year in a row, will be teaming with many of the chambers, economic development groups, planning departments, all throughout all 7 counties for training in what is now the state grant program, known as CFA, which is the only way to obtain state grants. And by working together, we've been able to, last year, the second year of the program, generate among the 10 regions in New York State the second highest number of applications. And in fact, the Mid-Hudson Valley won and brought back $90 million to the region. But that was due to a partnership between Pattern and all of the other organizations. And so we've been organizing that. You can go to our website for the dates of those. But for those of you that want to quickly jot this down, in Rockland, the training will be April 9th. In Westchester, it'll be April 12th. And in Putnam, it'll be April 25th. And I urge you that if you know a municipal leader, a not-for-profit head, anybody that wishes to take advantage of applying for a state grant, please urge them to attend. I also want to mention that Pattern, is really now no stranger to this part of the region. I serve on the Tappan Zee's Mass Transit Task Force with one of our speakers here, who will be up here shortly. And so we're really making our presence felt from one end of the valley to the other. Just one more thing before I invite our panelists up here. Could everyone that has a smartphone just raise a hand? Okay. So you all have it, and mine was programmed by my 14-year-old. So I know how to use it. But if you can, when you have a moment, please take a minute and try to find Pattern on Facebook and friend us. Like us, actually, is what you need to do. And hopefully you will like us after today's event. So please take a moment and do that. It's our way to communicate with you. Now, on the other hand, as former pattern chair used to say, Dave McFarland, at this point then, please turn off your cell phones and make certain that they're on vibrate, and please don't spend too much time looking at your messages. All right. Today we join with our county leaders in an ongoing regional discussion. We're very fortunate to have among our panelists the County Executive of Westchester, Rob Astorino, the County Executive of Putnam, MaryEllen Odell. Also joining us for the first time is the Legislative Board Chair of Rockland County, Harriet Cornell. As you know, the County Executive in Rockland announced that he is not going to seek re-election. We asked Harriet, and she graciously asked and answered the call to duty here and has agreed to join us. Also joining us as a co-moderator is Mike Hein. Now, some of you, as our board chair said, may know Mike as the County Executive of Ulster County, which brings a little bit of Pattern's desire to exhibit regionalism. And Mike was and is recently appointed, though, to serve as the president of the New York State Association of Counties County Executive Association, helping to represent the region. And Mike is also a leader in reform, and so I asked Mike to come down here and sit with his fellow county leaders. Before we start, let me read a paragraph from Donald Phillips' book about President Lincoln on leadership. Mr. Phillips wrote of Lincoln's leadership style the following: "The life of Abraham Lincoln, especially his presidency, demonstrated that he possessed all of the great leadership qualities. Some of his inherent abilities were natural. Others were consciously developed over the course of his life. Qualities such as honesty and integrity, empathy for the common man, and devotion to the rights of the individual were products of his upbringing. During his adult life, Lincoln's chosen profession as a lawyer," see, there might be one lawyer that you like, "prepared him for his future executive leadership position. More importantly, he refined his ability to persuade, direct, and motivate people. In running for public office, Lincoln became an excellent orator and speechwriter. Lincoln combined an extraordinary wit with a gift for storytelling to become an effective communicator. He was naturally inquisitive, and he learned rapidly, which led him to be extremely innovative. While I may be setting the bar just a tad high by looking to Lincoln for the qualities that make good leadership, let's talk to three leaders who have shown at many times many of these qualities, especially a willingness to be innovative in these difficult fiscal times. So Rob, MaryEllen, and Harriet, would you please come up and join Mike and I for what I hope will be an interesting and entertaining and fun Their bios are in the program, so I'm not going to take up any more time with that. And we have asked them to dispense with opening statements, as the questions will give them ample opportunity to expound upon issues that are important to them. Also, as time permits, we will take a few questions from the audience, but with that, let's get started, and let's see if we can get you out close to on time. Hello? All right. Okay, I'm going to take the first question, and I'm going to direct this one to the County Executive of Westchester, but I'm certain Harriet and MaryEllen will probably have a follow-up, and that will be about the Tappan Zee Bridge. I think there's...
One question. What's the Tappan Zee Bridge?
It's a small bridge,
okay.
And, you know, I think most local department of public works, it's under 26 feet. You know, I think the rule was something like that. But I think there's no doubt that after all these years, the bridge had to be rebuilt. But I think the goal right now is to figure out the best way to rebuild that bridge, including the Mass Transit Task Force and the aesthetic conditions and all the other things. So, County Executive, what is it that you want out of this in terms of the rebuilding of the bridge?
Well, I've been a very big proponent since day one when I got in January of 2010 that the bridge needed to be replaced. It was and is an obsolete bridge. It's a safe bridge, but it's an obsolete bridge. And we were talking before, I don't know if anyone saw the 2020 story about the bridge a couple weeks ago, and I was out on the water with the correspondent, and she kept trying to get me to say that the bridge is going to fall down. And I kept saying the bridge is not going to, but would you take your children on this bridge? Yes. And your wife, yes. The bridge is ugly. It's ugly, but the bridge is safe. But the bridge is obsolete, in my opinion. And that's why we need to rebuild and make a new bridge. And it's something that I've been fighting for, because the bridge is not just a span between Rockland and Westchester. It's a span between the Hudson Valley and north and New England. And it really is an absolutely regional, as a New York metropolitan area bridge. And one could say, without much of an argument, it's a national bridge. And President Obama has designated it as such as well, and that's why they've expedited the process. The one issue that I had, and we were all on the same page, the county executives and the governor, et cetera, to have a new bridge built. But the thing that was important to me was that the bridge, if we were going to spend billions of dollars, that we got it right. We didn't want to build another 1955 bridge that on day one was going to be designated obsolete. So the mass transit component was very, very important to me. I know it's very important to those on this panel as well. And so it was then made into we're against the governor's proposal because we want to make sure that there's some form of mass transit. And all of a sudden I became the guy in Tiananmen Square standing in front of the tank that was not going to allow a bridge to be built, which was silly. But through negotiations, and the governor compromised, we compromised, there will be a mass transit component on that bridge in the form of a dedicated bus lanes. One of the things that Harriet and I, MaryEllen, we're all working on is how to think about short-term, medium, and long-range transportation, mass transportation on that bridge when it opens, as well as in the future. What are the needs? And that's a bus rapid transit system. Rail is being discussed, but those are the kind of things that we have to look at in a realistic way. Can we afford it? The state can't afford the bridge right now, but let's do things that could work. So the bridge is important. The bridge is ready to get built, and it's something that I have supported from day one.
Terrific. Harriet, let me go to you on this, because since I've known you, you've had an involvement in this, and for years before that. So
I have. I still remember driving my car in 1998 and hearing Governor Pataki say we were going to have a new bridge. And I almost drove off the road because I hadn't heard that before. So now it's 2013, and I am very, very excited. For me, the Hudson River is so incredibly beautiful and so historic and so wonderful that to have a bridge that will be beautiful and represent all that the Hudson Valley stands for is something incredible. So I have really talked about that over the years. One of the things that I've done as chair of the legislature was to hold a series of summit meetings, as well as being on the Westchester Rockland Task Force. But the summit meetings were for the public and for elected officials, because I didn't want people to wake up one morning years later and discover, that trestles were in their backyards or tunnels were going under their homes, that they had to be aware of what was taking place and they had to have input. And I have to say that, first of all, I give great credit to Governor Cuomo, and I see Brian Conybeare, who's here, who is the face of the new Tappan Zee Bridge and is doing such a great job. Great credit to the governor for getting this on the fast track and moving ahead. But I also want to say that I think that the process, while slow, did encourage people to understand about the bridge and did take the sting out of sometimes when things like Robert Moses would come in and do things, I think there was a real intention to try to involve the public. And there were stakeholder working groups, and there were all kinds of groups in the public that had input, and I think that was very important. So now we're here today, and what do we want? We want to be connected with our neighbors across the river. We want opportunities for our citizens to be able to get into Manhattan and get to Westchester and where there are higher paying jobs. We think that this is a great step forward for the economics of, certainly for Rockland County, but for the entire region. So I think there's just so much that lies ahead, and I'm very, very excited to be part of it. And as Rob was saying, I think the mass transit, which we're really working on, we hope by the end of the year to have some proposals, but a lot of it is really about short term, which is between now and the time the bridge opens, midterm for the 15 years after the bridge opens, and then beyond that for the next, 3/4 of a century or something. But basically, we're really looking for better transportation for west of Hudson. This would be Rockland, Orange, and presumably Ulster as well. Very important. We're really looking at what people need and want in the years ahead as the jobs change and as the population changes, and perhaps we'll talk about that a little bit more. One thing we see in Rockland is a loss of the prime working age population. And if we can, in some way, create more opportunities to keep people in and to attract people, and I think the bridge is going to create a lot of excitement. People are going to know where Rockland is, where for all the years I've lived there, it was someplace upstate or New Jersey. So people are going to know, and it's going to be a great source of economic development. Thank you.
Jonathan, this is actually a lot of fun for me. Not having to actually be on the hot seat I feel a little bit like Dr. Phil, actually. We really have. This is going to be a Tappan Zee therapy session for everybody. I think we're all going to work through this together.
They're going to need it when they know what the tolls are.
I just thought it was easy pass and free. It doesn't work that way? Anyway, each and every one of you as a county leader fully understands the gravity of the situation on situations like Superstorm Sandy, Hurricane Irene. In my community, we're no stranger to that. It was the worst natural disaster in our history. We saw houses torn from their foundations, bridges washed away, roads, all the damage that can happen in communities. From an environmental perspective and from an emergency preparedness perspective, how do you think your communities are getting ready for what unfortunately are more and more frequent occurrences?
Sure. Can I just double back on the Tappan Zee? I mean, I know Putnam
I told you this was going to be a therapy session, didn't I?
It doesn't seem like we're an important player in that, but we did have our full vote there. And, when Harriet mentions what did you expect out of the Tappan Zee Bridge, what I'm hoping to do while I maintain a seat at the table for the TZ Bridge is to get our union families back to work, or in fact to keep them working. And at our State of the County address last month, our theme was making the connection. And of course that covers, a broad area, including transportation and tourism and employment, economic development. So we're really looking forward to this project being what history has always brought to the table when it comes to taking us up and out of a downturn economy, that these are the projects that can actually stimulate the region economically and job growth. And I was very grateful to have the opportunity to sit at the table with Westchester and Rockland as well. And remember, Putnam County, our west coast, does include 16 miles of shoreline on the river. And that part of our county is really where our tourism hub is. So it was very critical to us that the FEIS and all the compliance was in play to make sure to preserve that region for us.
Yeah, again, just so we can round off the Tappan Zee issue, I don't think there's any question that as county leaders, each and every one of you advocated extremely strongly for your constituency, and I think that's really wonderful. But it's important for you to understand you were also helping out other communities. Again, my community's 90 miles due north of Manhattan. That's really where we are. Though sometimes we consider Rockland County Southern Ulster County. Good. But the truth of the matter is, it's an enormous gateway to upstate New York. For residents, for the 22 million people that live in the metro New York area to be able to get upstate, to be able to enjoy all the amenities that are there, and also to the 50 million visitors that come to the metro New York area every single year and their ability to get upstate. The Tappan Zee is an integral artery to upstate New York. It has to happen. So we're just as excited about that. And again, a tip of the hat to everybody on this panel for all the work they did in really getting us to this point. Now, please.
Well, the question you were asking was about emergencies and climate change. Certainly for all of us who live along the coasts, we saw terrible, terrible, terrible damage. It's not something that we look forward to, but we're planning for it. And actually in the planning for the Tappan Zee Bridge, because the road that goes right along under the bridge is right along the Hudson River. And I know that all of the planning has involved the fact that the river is going to rise. We know that it's going to rise, and consequently the roads and the height of the bridge and everything else has to take that into account. But in terms of the emergency services, we have an incredible, our county is relatively small in population and in geographic size. We work together very, very well, and we have a wonderful emergency services department in county government that works with the fire and the police. One of the things, they also work very well with the county planning department, and our planners there who work on the geographic information systems created an interactive tool that was very, very helpful in Hurricane Sandy, because it allowed people throughout the county to literally indicate where there were road blockages, where there were other kinds of things that were happening. And it really assisted in terms of being able to clear roads and do things like that. That is something that I know we will want to share that information with all of the counties, because I know collaboration is a big part of what you do. So I think there are very important things. I also had one of the greatest learning experiences I've had in the legislature was the legislature took the lead in creating a county comprehensive plan. And over a period of 18 months, I served on that committee as well, working with the county planning department. So we really looked at things like greenhouse gases and how to really focus our thoughts ahead on how to prevent pollution and how to do things that we can assist at least in preventing some of the human issues that go towards climate change. But it's something we all have to consider, because it's clear we're going to have more storms.